Well, here we are, the week that was. What a week. I don't know about you, but I found it quite a heavy week. As most of the friends that I've met have also said so too, especially if you're slightly empathic, knowing the story of Easter. I'm going to start, first of all, was anyone here last fortnight ago when I did a talk? I think I couldn't pronounce it. It's the Australian Lectionary. That's what this is. And it's got every day of the year that have got important days, the table of Sundays and holidays. Last time I did it was 2010. So I found it quite interesting to follow. Easter Sunday, what a great day. Already I feel better. There's a strange verse which has been part of my life. And it's Matthew 28, verse 2. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled the stone from the door and sat on it. That's, as I said, it's been part of my life. I used to do Bible Stedfords when I was in Sunday school when I was young. I think you know this. I used to go from town to town, a group of us. We were Methodists at the time. We met up with the other churches and we all had Bible quizzes. We thought we were so clever. I made the big one in Launceston, the big final. And I thought, okay, I wonder what they can ask me today. It was three of us at the end there, and we got down to two of us. And the question was, what did the angel do when he rolled back the stone from the tomb? We couldn't think of it. But there it is in the Bible. He sat on it. And I thought, well, this is a really wonderful, profound question. Sat on it. What's that got to do with anything? Sat on it. Anyway, about 10 years ago, just when we were doing our jazz program on the local radio station, I used to do a spiritual program. Before it, I'd interview different people around the place. It was very good. I did enjoy it. We met some wonderful people. Then I thought, oops, there's the Sergeant Salvation Army people. I haven't interviewed them. So I was working at Forest Hill at the time, and they had a chaplain that went round. He used to call in different people and he'd sit on the seat, and if anyone wanted to join him, he'd give them a little bit of counselling or good cheer. So I went up to him and said, look, can we have an interview on our local radio station? And he said, yes, but the best one to do this is Sergeant Major Wendy Munro. Well, being the theatrical person I was, you can imagine what I thought was going to come into the studio with a name like Munro. So I don't know what I really expected, but I got in there and this very strong, powerful, matronly woman in her uniform came in. And she said, I'm Sergeant Major Munro. I said, good, take a seat. And we got chatting. My goodness, did I have to be on my toes? I thought because I'm studying it well metaphysically that, not that I was superior, but I just thought, well, look, I'm past the traditional way of looking at these things. And we got chatting and I said, I lost a Bible quiz because I couldn't answer a certain question. And she said, what was that? I said, what did the angel do when he rolled back the stone? And she said, he sat on it. Gulp. And I said, what a strange, silly question. She said, no, it's not a silly question. I said, oh, she said, I could make a sermon out of that. I thought, really? And she, did I learn that day? She said, yes. He rolled back that heavy stone and he sat on it. It was a sense of achievement. Gee, that worked well, didn't it? It was wonderful. We had a great interview. We had a few calls, which is very rare sometimes on these community programs. We have our regulars, but we got a few extras. And she was a wonderful person to meet. I met her a couple of times. after that. So let's have a look at the week that was. On Monday, Jesus cleanses the temple of the money changers. Metaphysically, we cleanse ourselves of dishonest thoughts of materialism and greed, because our body is the temple of the living God. It's noticeable also that many visionaries have been told to build a temple on the spot where they had their visions, like from St. Francis, Bernadette and Fatima, and especially the Roman Catholic mystics in their apparitions are told to build a temple church or church on this spot. Well, that's in us, even though they did it literally. We are the temple of the living God. And we build our temple, our consciousness, like Peter the Apostle. We build it on the rock of faith. When it is built on a solid rock, we have what is called, now you've heard me use this term before, established consciousness. It means no one can knock us off our perch for our faith. So we all got through Monday and Tuesday. Wasn't a good day for Jesus. He was in a very bad mood by the looks of things. Jesus passes by the barren fig tree. Another story in itself, and they're still working it out. But we had a good one from Julian last week, a good explanation, one explanation of this story of the barren fig tree. And it's the same day he goes into the synagogue and his authority is questioned. Could it have been the same synagogue that he upset all the people in the temple? And it got me thinking, because most of the big cathedrals I've been in, they've got their own stuff. They've got their books, their candles, their incense. They've got a coffee section. So, business as usual for a lot of people, especially Westminster Abbey, if any of you have been there. That has got a lot of stuff in it. Beautiful music on CDs. And could it have been the same place that he went in at the age 12, where he studied, we think, by Hillel, one of the high priests? In this particular day, Jesus now condemns the Sadducees and Pharisees for their practice of keeping people away from God. A God out there. A God only available if you put an offering. A God out there if you go through a priest or a rabbi. Out there. Only available through priestly intervention. Jesus makes it known that he has come to teach the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. And this, I think, stems back to the Ten Commandments, where the thou shalt not in the old Hebrew scriptures, but Jesus puts it a lot gently. His blessed art thou who do this, do that, and do whatever. That wonderful Sermon on the Mount. And he states the two great commandments, which are two sides of the one coin. Luke 22:37 to 40. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy soul and with all thy mind, and thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. Even if we don't do anything else, that's going to get us through whatever we need to get through. Cooperation. Wednesday. The week's building up. It was a quieter day for Jesus. As quiet as it can be, knowing that behind the scenes, the religious leaders are secretly conspiring against him. We all know that feeling, don't we, when you think someone's talking about me? There's a feeling. When you walk into a room, you can tell different attitudes and vibes, and usually they're right. Then in Matthew 26, verse 7, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster jar of very precious oil, and poured it on his head as he sat during the meal. Now there it is. This oil is identified as spikenard. It's one of the oils used for incense in the temples of Jerusalem. It's claimed by many to have therapeutic uses, include healing for deep-seated grief or emotional pain. And ironically, it was used to ease transition from life to death. Because Jesus, even though he was strong, he was human still. And we don't use that now, I don't think. Most people I've met in palliative care have morphine. But there it is. It's only a small jar. Looks very powerful. I didn't realise till I checked it that apparently you can still get it. Then, Judas complained that this was a hateful way to use this oil, which could have been sold and the money given to the poor. Jesus represents that part of our being that will cheat or steal from us all that is precious to our soul. How often have we denied ourselves a treat here and there? Little things. I took some flowers to someone 3 weeks ago, and I had to go to Safeway, there was no one else there. So I looked at it and I thought, what a dreary bunch of flowers. It was on a Monday morning, so all the good flowers had probably gone. I thought, look, I'll probably get away with these. I think it was about $15. They still had a nice smell, and I thought some of the bulbs would have opened. So I took them to this person. And I said, thank you, and all that. They gave it with, and I put them over on the shelf. Then last week, I noticed when I went into Safeways, there were some fresh flowers. $50. I thought, oh. Then I thought, why not? While people are alive, give them flowers when they're alive. So I bought these flowers, a beautiful bunch of flowers. And I gave them to this person, and they said, oh, they are wonderful. And they kept them by themselves all through the time I was with that person. And we called in a lady, and she put them in the vase, and this person was smiling. So instead of $15, I spread out and did $50. I felt good too. So, as Judas betrayed Christ, Jesus, have we sometimes betrayed the Christ in us? What a question. By making us so busy, we betray ourselves by not giving us time for the things we should do. We talk about the simple truth. I've talked about that before. Prayers, affirmations, all this. But to do it, that third unity principle, I think it is, knowing the laws are not enough. We have to put them into action, whichever 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does anyone know what number it is? The 5 unity principles? You might have a test one day with a prize. Do you know? Pardon? The 5th one. Thank you, our licensed unity teacher. Okay, the 5th principle, knowing it, we've got to put it into operation. Jesus answered, the poor you will have always with you, but you will not always have me. Matthew 26:11. Here, Jesus means poor in consciousness. We need time to ourselves. And it's on this day that Judas decides, or agrees to betray Jesus. Judas agrees to betray Jesus. Thursday. Jesus gathers his disciple in an upper room in Jerusalem for the Passover meal. the Last Supper really was this time. Here they partook of bread and wine. Symbolically, bread represents universal substance. Our daily bread is a substance for spirit, mind and body. Some of this daily word's bread is in the form of food. There is substance in the word of truth, revealed in prayer and meditation. We can get that substance going within, but also our dear daily word, which a lot of us still miss, the little booklet, but I think there's still some down there. And also special books, like The Prophet, Gibran, and other books that are out in the mainstream now. So many mainstream books on this subject. And wine represents the vitality that forms the connecting link between the body and the soul. Jesus first baptized with water. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, writes, when John the Baptist baptized with water, he washed away the errors of an external character. It does not enter the subconscious. It takes something more powerful than water to purify error conditions accumulated by our soul in many incarnations. This is represented by wine. Even before the Christian missionaries went to Hawaii, you read about the kahunas. They talk about conscious mind and the subconscious. And the conscious mind has to convince that subconscious part of our being that it means business before that subconscious agrees. And when it does, it's got the energy to go up to the higher self. I read that quite often, some of the kahuna teachings. They resonate with me, especially having been to Hawaii a couple of times. And also, the wedding at Cana. This is where Jesus performed his first miracle, turning water into wine. As I said, this is symbolic of the blending of thoughts of the outer and inner, this wedding, creating established consciousness or spiritual stamina. Some call it the mystical marriage, the left and right. Others call it, let thine eye be single. That is in the Bible. Not many people understand that verse. Matthew 6, verse 22. Friday. On the Friday, Jesus is crucified. Leslie was mentioning the meaning of that. The crossing out in consciousness of errors that have become fixed states of mind. The mind or death of the whole personality in order that the Christ mind may be expressed in all its fullness. Resurrection. This is our evolving consciousness, our gradual awareness of an ever-expanded concept of spiritual truth. In restoring of mind and body back to their original state, accompanied by the realization that God is spirit, and God created us with the same power it has. We're all individual expressions of this one presence and one power. We are all created perfect, the perfect seed. As in the parable of the sower, how is that seed going to evolve? Some will evolve in a different way from others. And it's interesting to note that months before his physical crucifixion, Jesus quoted in John 11:25 as saying, this is weeks before, I am the resurrection and the life. They that believe in me, though they were dead, yet shall they live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Believe you this. Here's an interesting one. Mark 15. And the veil of the temple was rent from top to bottom. Symbolically, we are the temple, and the veil is over us, not around God. And the veil is symbolic of our spiritual ignorance. And with every revelation of truth, we discover that the veil grows thinner and thinner. The truth has always been there. We gradually become aware of it as we progress on our journey through life and all its challenges and blessings. Easter Sunday represents the resurrection of Jesus. John 16:33. I am the resurrection. Be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Easter Sunday is a time for us to affirm new vision, new beginnings, to rise and break free from what no longer supports us on our spiritual, physical journey. And inner restlessness calls from within us to seek greener pastures and new experiences where we can demonstrate our inner Christ qualities. We often go kicking and screaming. We hold on to the stuff that we really don't need to. You know my story of the hymn books. I've got 1 million of them, never used them. And music, I've been giving music away, but I seem to get more back than I give away. So there's obviously something there still for me to do with it. And we've all had situations in our life where we've had to move on. Whether we liked it or not, we might have been in a nice apartment that we're renting, overlooking the sea and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, conditions change. A new landlord, the rent goes up. You have to move. And quite often the move isn't to a necessarily better place, but we are able to do it. We have to do it. Like a caterpillar changing into a butterfly, or the phoenix bird rising from the ashes of its former self, change happens to us. It's part of our soul evolution, whether our temporary or personality ego self likes it or not. Rarely is it without some form of drama, as we know. If we accept that and the consequences of that, then we have the choices to take dominion of ourselves in confidence and bring into action this inner wisdom which is there for us to take advantage of and express more of those spiritual powers. Love, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, power, life and joy as we demonstrate these qualities in our life now. They're on the back wall there if you want to know the 12 powers. I'm sure there's more, but 12 will do me, thank you, this lifetime anyway. Okay, Palm Sunday, which was last Sunday to Easter Sunday, here we are. Good Friday was a symbolic time of crossing out. So Easter Sunday is a good time for rising up and bringing into our consciousness an awakened awareness, a more expanded expression of who we really are, and more of an individualized expression of the one presence and one power in whom we live, move and have our being, and always have and always will. Thank you.
Thank you.